DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back into DETV. Nick Alessandrini and Matthew Maurer here with your latest sports update. A week off, a week removed from our NCAA championship. We're going to touch on that here in a moment to begin, and then right into the NBA playoffs. Haven't talked a lot of NBA with everything going on here the past few months, but now it is officially time to dive in. We have our bracket set for the playoffs and the postseason beginning tomorrow with the play-in game. So we are coming at you at remote locations today. We are both, I'm assuming, coming from Wilmington, but not on Market Street, as we have our own private offices here today. And Matthew, how you feeling? A little outdoor nature show for you here today on a Monday.
Yeah, man, I gotta take advantage of this weather. It's been so cold and rainy. I said, let me go outside and enjoy this a little bit today. So yeah, got the deck out, and decided to kick back and relax a little bit.
I'm gonna say, as soon as you hopped on, I saw where you were. I was like, man, I'm in my basement setup right now, and I was like, man, I wish I could get outside. That's where I should have been. We got to do a live or remote show from
That's a fact.
outside here as we get into the nicer weather, Dennis. So something to work on here as we progress. But Matthew, how you feeling? I know NBA draft stuff heating up. You were just talking about you got some trips coming up. You've got some
Yep.
work that you're going to be finishing up today. I know I'll be getting a lot of my NFL draft stuff finalized by next week, and we'll have our draft show then. So some big things picking up for us. How's that all been for you?
Oh man, it's crazy. I mean, but it always is crazy this time of the year. I mean, for me, I have a somewhat vested interest in the NFL draft, not as much as the NBA draft, of course, but the NBA draft, of course, literally kills all my time between from April to probably July because I'm still tracking down, guys and seeing who got contracts, two-way contracts. So
Right. Summer league
it's
also.
yeah, it's a huge process, and I have a little bit of help from some friends of mine, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, I'm a one-man show, man.
That's right. And again, big stuff coming up. We will have Matthew's draft show live here on DETV coming up in about a month from now. So something to look forward to. And as I mentioned, we'll have our draft NFL draft show next Monday live back from the studio on Market Street. We'll have a nice cast, hopefully, to join us. We'll have Bill Harmon back from NFL on Fox. We're hoping to talk to Martin Frank as well, who covers the Eagles on a national level for USA Today. And then hopefully Jason will be able to be back with us on Monday. So it should be an action-packed show. But before we get there, a big one today, Matthew, and we're going to talk a lot about the NBA. We'll have Dennis's question of the week coming up here in a little while. So we'll both get to see that for the first time. And let's just dive in quickly to the playoffs. And I'm going to ask you, Matthew, where do you want to start? You want to start with the Sixers, or do you want to finish with the Sixers after we talk about the NBA playoffs? What would be easier for you?
Let's finish with the Sixers. I know
Yeah.
that's on most of our viewers' minds, but let's focus on the bigger picture, which is the
Yeah.
playoffs, and then we'll segue into the Sixers.
I respect that. I'm with you there 100%. And let's dive right in. And just quickly before we get into the whole landscape of things, not sure if Dennis can bring up an NBA bracket for us. But as it looks right now, the play-ins are set to begin tomorrow. 20 games yesterday that helped kind of shape the landscape of the playoffs. A lot of those results, and the biggest one, though, with the Warriors and the Clippers, battling for a team that not be in the play-in versus being in the play-in. And the Warriors lost that one to the Clippers in overtime. A huge game for James Harden. Kawhi Leonard's been one of the best players, if not the best player, since he's returned from injury, a month or two ago. Clippers have been one of the hottest teams down the stretch. And then they take down Golden State, who has also been one of the other hottest teams down the stretch with Jimmy Butler, a fantastic record since acquiring him at the trade deadline. That game goes to overtime. Clippers get the win. So they get the top seed out of those two. The Warriors will drop to the 7. And now they get the Grizzlies in a playoff series that those two teams know each other very well from the last few years. So let's jump into the play-ins here quickly, Matthew. That's where we'll start. And tomorrow, the Hawks and the Magic going to get started there in the Eastern Conference, 7:30 p.m. on TNT. So we just take a look at the play-in now in the East from an overall perspective here. It'll be Orlando, Atlanta, Chicago, and Miami. So Orlando at the 7 seed, Atlanta the 8, Chicago the 9, and the Heat the 10. So it'll be 7-8 with the Magic and the Hawks tomorrow night. With Hawks kind of been in the mix towards the back end, but you never really see too much out of these playing teams in terms of making a run in the playoffs. But how do you feel about the Hawks and the Magic? Paolo with a huge year. He was our number one pick on the show a few years ago, back when Jabari Smith was the projected number one overall pick. A lot of people like Paolo, though, as well back then. And he is having himself a heck of a season this year. Gets
Yeah.
the Magic into the playoffs, and now they get the Hawks here early in the play.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Hawks probably have the better team, but I think the Magic have the better player. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pieces together. I mean, if they can get one more guy on the Magic to give them consistent, production, I think the Magic can definitely beat the Hawks. But they're going to need one more guy.
I'm sorry, who's that going to be? Obviously, we've seen some, Suggs in the past. A lot of these high draft picks, Franz Wagner,
Yeah,
Jalen Suggs. Wagner has been playing well the last few years. He was one of the good ones.
he
Suggs
has.
still waiting for him to find his offensive, way of things there in the NBA, but a good defensive player. And the Magic having themselves a nice year. So if I had to pick here, you're going to go with the Magic?
Whew. I'm going to go with the Hawks. I'm going to go with the Hawks. I don't think the Magic are there yet.
As you
I
can see
mean,
the playoff bracket on your screen. Sorry, Matt.
yeah, yep. I mean, Suggs, he's definitely taken a big step forward this year, and it's funny because Wagner's actually taken a step back from what he's done in the past. He was close to almost 20 points a game a couple years ago. I think he's averaging, I want to say 14 now, something like that. So, and Suggs has been playing well, plays great defense. Shooting has been his Achilles heel his whole career. So, if he can get consistent, and I tell you, the sneaky guy could be for the Magic is Anthony Black, who I was not that high on coming out of the draft, but he's definitely started to work his way and took him some time, but he's definitely starting to get himself together, especially offensively. He's a tough cover for guys at times. So if he can get a little hot, I think the Magic can beat the Hawks, but I just go with the Hawks for right now just because I think the Hawks have a more well-balanced team between the two of them. Less questions.
Yeah. I'm going to lean, and you said at the top before you went into your analyzation there, I'm going to go with the best player I think in the series, and a team and a battle of two teams I think are evenly matched almost. And I'm going to go with Paolo and the Magic here by Caro in the series, almost to pick them there between these two to win, and obviously take that 7 seed in the East. So we're going to take the Hawks overall. I'm going to take the Magic, and then that'll take us into the back end of the Heat and the Bulls. And just let me ask you this then, instead of diving into the specific matchup here, Matthew, do you think the Heat and the Bulls are the two teams that end up out of this official playoff picture here as we get into Thursday? Or I have the Magic and the Hawks with my last two spots. Do you think the Heat or the Bulls could snag one of those two as the 9th and 10th seed?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not very high on either one of those teams. I mean, honestly, I guess if I had to take somebody in this equation, I think I would take Miami.
Yeah, right.
But I mean,
Based
as
on
far as
pedigree.
correct, and I think they have a better coach
Yeah,
and a better
definitely.
organization overall. So, and I'm a big fan of Khalil Ware, who's done great things this year for them. They've got Wiggins, they got Adebayo, they got Hero, so they got some pieces there. To me, Chicago is a franchise that I think they're going to have to start looking at some investments for the youth because, I mean, as great
Yeah.
as they have, they still don't have enough pieces to really get by.
And that's the thing, right? Just to talk about Chicago here for a second, then we'll widen it up about the play-in in general. But to your point, it seems like a team that never wants to fully rebuild. They just haven't,
Mm-hmm.
fully have committed to that. A few years ago they had Levine, they go get him, they get DeRozan, Lonzo Ball signed as the big contract extension. It's just a team that was always hovering right around the play-in the last few years. I think this will be the third or second year straight that they've been in this play-in game, and it's just a team, in my opinion, and you just said it. I think you agree. Is just they got to put their chips in the table and reset this thing. I think they got to rebuild from the bottom. Buzelis had some good moments there. I know you talked about him in
Yep.
last year's draft down the stretch. A lot of these young guys getting some minutes, so they got some young talent there. But yeah, I think they got to fully commit to the rebuild, and I think that's what they're going to have to do if they want to have any success going forward. Because if not, they're hovering right around that 10 to 12 range, and again, it's just
Easily.
not a lot of light at the end of the tunnel there.
Totally agree. And I mean, look, I give them credit. They're able to find really good value players. I mean, Vucevic is a great player. Kobe White gives you some scoring punch. Kevin Herter is a solid player. They're solid. They're just not the type of guys that can get you far in a playoff series, and that's the problem with Chicago. And it also hurts them with the draft position because
That's it,
they
right? Yep.
yeah, they're falling out of that top 10 range a lot of times because they have such solid builds on these teams. So I hate to say it, but I think they might have to just go with a whole youth push and
Mhm.
start to move some of these guys away so they can get themselves in a position where they can get a top 10 pick and really get some help.
I mean, that's the thing is the worst thing to be in the NBA is kind of right outside on the edge of the playoff
Right.
picture and in that purgatory. That's where you don't want to be. You want to be
Right.
up in the echelon with a chance to win it, or you want to be at the bottom with a chance at a good draft pick and a chance to rebuild. And
Right.
hopefully that's the way they decide to go. As of right now, they're still in that purgatory range, so we'll see if they get there. But they're in the play-in for another year, so we'll see what happens with the Chicago Bulls. Let's take a look now at the West play-ins. We talked about kind of the results happening and everything kind of shifting after the Clippers beating the Warriors. So you can see the bracket there. The Clippers jump up and get that seed. That locks Minnesota into the 6th seed. They'll get the Lakers. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But now we get a very entertaining play-in between the Grizzlies and the Warriors, two teams that went at it a few years ago in the playoffs. The Warriors ended up on the right end of that matchup. New team here a little bit with Golden State. They have Jimmy Butler, and now they're getting the Grizzlies, who have Ja back. They've had some success again this year with Ja back in the lineup and staying in there, albeit with some of what he's doing on the floor. We'll get your opinion on how he's acted out there as well. But Grizzlies, Warriors, I've been always one to back the Warriors in these situations. I like Jimmy Butler, so we haven't talked since that edition or really kind of going forward at all. So I'm going to go with the Warriors in this one, but I think it's going to be very close. Coming down to the stretch, maybe one possession, whoever maybe has the last shot could win this one. Curry versus Ja, going to be a fun matchup there tomorrow night, but give me the Warriors in a very close one.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Warriors. And I got to be honest with you. One of the reasons why I'm taking the Warriors is for some reason, Desmond Bain believes that he's an elite player. And for some reason, he just gets Curry going all the time with the little antics that he does. He's got a little bit of that Dylan Brooks energy at times where he's doing little corny stuff and it
A little too
irritates
much.
you. Yeah, it gets under your skin. I think that's the problem with Memphis, honestly. I think they got a lot of knucklehead guys who just didn't get the memo that they're just not that guy. And for some reason, Desmond Bain believes he's on the level of a Steph or a Clay or some of these other guys in the past. It's just like, bro, you're not there. You're a nice role player. I would say you're, a mediocre star at best. I mean, look, you might make an all-star team or two, but I don't think you're really a guy that
I
people
agree.
are really, game planning against. So, I mean, guys like Desmond Bain always get under my skin. I don't get it. I mean, I love the confidence. I wasn't big on him coming out of TCU. I'll be quite frank, just because of his short arms.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah, and look, to his credit, he's resurrected his career. He's got himself a
Absolutely.
3-point jump shot. He's one of the better shooters in the league, without a doubt. I just don't think he's as dynamic as he likes to think he is, and I think that's going to hurt Memphis in the long run. But then again, that's always been Memphis' biggest issue is maturity.
Yeah.
They have some horses, they just do not have maturity, and they should really get some vets to try to get some of these young guys under control, because that's kind of the problem right now.
How do you feel about John, everything that he's been through, lately, I guess in the last few weeks, more recently, with the gun gestures towards the Warriors benching that one. Speaking of
Mm-hmm.
which, that's the matchup we're getting here in the play-in. So again, going to be fun. Very going to get chippy tomorrow night between these two teams for sure. And then he responds after being, talked to by the NBA and Adam Silver with the grenade celebration a day after that. I'm sure you saw
Yeah.
that. Your thoughts on what Ja's going through here in the last few weeks? Do you think anything about it, if anything at all? You're not worried about it at all, or how do you think he's going to perform in the playoffs when the lights are on?
I mean, look, I love Ja, the talent.
Me too.
I think he has if he could get rid of the nonsense, I think he has a legit chance to be a guy who people in this generation talk about the way that the previous generation talked about with Gary Payton and some of those Tim Hardaway, some of those stars at the point guard position. He's got that kind of ability. And I'll even be franker, he's got even more electric ability than those guys even had. He's breathtaking in fast break. I mean, he's got it all. He really does. The only thing he doesn't seem to have is he doesn't seem to have a chill button, and he always seems he wants to go overboard. And I sometimes wonder why he's so hell bent on being this rough kid
Yeah, we
that
talked about it.
it's like, you're not
Wants to
rough,
be the
bro.
villain now too.
Yeah, he wants to be the villain too. And I just don't think that's going to work long term. I think he's going to have to start figuring out that this is business. And, like Zion Williamson is finding this out too. Once
Yeah.
those people stop coming around you because they just see you as a talented knucklehead, those opportunities don't come back to you the way they did when you left Murray State and Duke. And that's the problem that Ja's having is I think he's a little frustrated. And I think that kind of is the reason why he lashes out with doing things that he knows are going to catch some flack, because I think in his mind he believes, well, some attention is better than no attention at all. And he doesn't realize that at this part of his career, you can do everything you want to have attention. The best attention to have is to win.
Yeah.
So he's got to just drop the antics. I love his talent, and I think if he didn't create all of this attention on himself with some of these things off the basketball court, I don't think this would be a big thing. I think unfortunately it's a big thing because it's one thing after another thing after another thing, and after a while it's like, dude, enough already. And then that's the problem with Ja. Look, again, I love his talent. I just frustrates me to no end that he just can't seem to just get himself together.
Yeah, and again, it was a few years ago that they were like the 2 or 3 seed in the West. John was having an MVP like season, and then all of that stuff off the court started to unfold, and then of course they were
Right.
out in round number 1. Well, here they are with the matchup back with the Warriors. So both teams are going to be looking to get after each other in this one. And just to talk a little again to retreat and talk about the Grizzlies, Taylor Jenkins fired a few weeks ago. We'll talk about Mike Malone also being fired. Some interesting coaching changes down the stretch of the regular season as we head into the playoffs. What were your thoughts on the Taylor Jenkins firing, and your thoughts on, I believe it's Lasalo, as you pronounce his last name, I believe from the European side of things there, a guy that has a lot of respect in the NBA apparently and was on his way to becoming a head coach. He now takes over in Memphis. Your thoughts on the firing of Taylor Jenkins, and was, in your opinion, the right move, and maybe why did they do it?
Well, I think the thing that people, because, I've seen people say, oh, what about Mike Malone? And, people are like mortarized, they're like all upset that these firings have occurred.
Well,
And
Malone more so, in my opinion,
Mhm.
than Taylor Jenkins. But yeah, both of them a little surprising. Yeah, especially the Malone one drew a lot of feedback from a lot of people.
Correct. And I think people got to understand one thing about the NBA, and this has been going on way before this generation, because people it's this generation of athlete. Well, people seem to forget Magic Johnson got Paul Westhead removed after they won an NBA Finals because he didn't like the way he was playing. And then they got Pat Riley. So
David
this is
Blatt,
not
I think they went to the finals with David Blatt, LeBron, same situation.
David Blatt, LeBron, and like people seem to forget, like, this is a players' league, and if you're not best friends with the star player, and if you've lost the faith of the star player, you're not going to last. You're just not. As much as Michael Jordan we talk about, it was the fact that he after a while started to trust Phil Jackson, even though he says he loves Doug Collins. He didn't trust Doug Collins. He trusted Phil Jackson after a while, enough that he bought into the system of Tex Winters, which was the triangle offense. Unfortunately, right now with these players, is that once they lose faith in you, it's very hard to get it back. And, I know that the NBA is trying to become a more global brand, and they're bringing in coaches that have overseas experience. And look, as somebody who's been watching EuroLeague for the last 15 years, EuroLeague is arguably the second best league in the world. I say that with no no hyperbole. It is a fact that league is ultra competitive, ultra tough, and filled with tremendous talent. So if you win in EuroLeague, you have my ultimate respect. But I will say this: I'm not an NBA player, and you can come in and you can say I've won 8 EuroLeague titles, and you know what that NBA player is going to say? I don't care. You didn't win an NBA title. And that's how they see it. They don't care about your college championships. They don't care about none of that. All they care about is, have you won on this level? And they don't and I know that was a problem David Blatt had with LeBron James, is he was basically telling LeBron, respect me because I won these titles. And LeBron's like, I don't care. You didn't win an NBA title. So again, people have to get through that, and they have to understand that a lot of these players, they've reached a point where if they feel that you can't get them over the hump, and let's be honest, and in regards to Mike Malone, right, and
Yeah,
even Bullholzer, who was with Milwaukee,
that's right. Fired today.
fired today, you reach the pinnacle, right? And the thing with being at the pinnacle is everybody eventually has to come down, but the problem is how far do you stay on top? And the problem with Jokic, the problem with Giannis, the frustration that built with him and Budenholzer, and I think Mike Malone and Jokic was, okay, we got to the pinnacle, we won the title, and then we didn't sustain the excellence to keep being in a position where we were at least challenging for the NBA title. Like if you go to the NBA Finals and you lose,
Yeah,
great, but they didn't even go to the NBA
so
Finals.
even a
They
conference final.
correct. So like that was the problem, and I think that's what led to these guys being out. So I know it's a rough game. People don't like to hear it, but like this is what happens. It's about not what you did; it's about what you've done lately, and that's unfortunately the problem that Mike Malone had. I think Mike Malone pissed people off and made people. I think he was one of those old school coaches that kind
Oh
of
yeah,
talks a little too much and
yeah.
probably wore down on some of the players. And as far as Jenkins, I think a lot of people felt like he didn't have control of the team. I think there's a lot of tough personalities on that team, guys that are very, you know, jubilant and very outgoing in their displays of conversation. And I think to a lot of people, it was like, yo, do you have control of this team or not? Because it doesn't seem like you have control of this team. They're doing really stupid things during timeouts. They're running up the legends, pissing them off, and then the legends come back and blow you away. It's like I don't know if that's like what you should be focusing on. So I think that's why he was in the situation he was in. Is that a lot of people just felt like you lost control of the team.
And to your point about the Nuggets, the Kroenkes who own Denver, a lot of other sports teams in different cities, across the country. That's kind of what they came out and said in the firing of Mike Malone was, hey, we wanted it 3 years ago, but we haven't been, in contention since then. And that was kind of their reasoning behind it, whether you think it was the right or wrong move. To me, I always look
Right.
back to the injuries with Denver, right? I think this year,
Mm-hmm.
Murray hasn't been healthy for the full year. When they've been healthy, they've been good. So I think, it's a tough situation. I don't know if I would have fired him right then and there, but as you said, once it gets stale, it's hard to recoup that kind of camaraderie and everything that you've experienced before. And to your point about the star player, you think obviously Jokic, word is that he knew about it, not sure he could stop it. They said even if he wanted to, so that was he was going to be fired regardless. And Malone, and then to Taylor Jenkins, they said a lot of the reason for that was these are rumors. John Morant, didn't like the way the offense was going, didn't like the system. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to improve upon that, and then they let him go before the playoffs. So again, as you mentioned, it comes down to kind of that relationship with your star player. I think Malone had a better one with Jokic than John Taylor Jenkins had,
For
but didn't
sure.
matter here in this scenario, as they are both on their way out. So we'll see how it goes there. But you saw the Mike Malone interview the day before he was fired, talking about, hey, my guys don't watch film. And it was right after he made that big speech,
Mm-hmm.
calling his guys out that he was let go. And he didn't handle it, very well. The reports saying it wasn't a calm exit from him out of the facility there in
And
Denver.
let's not forget too, they didn't just fire the coach; they also fired the GM
That's right,
uh,
Calvin Booth. Good point.
of Penn State. Go Penn State. He got let go, so they're doing a complete cleaning over there. And
After
I
only a few
mean,
years of winning a championship.
for sure. And again, this is the biggest problem when you are in a situation like Denver. You're in a situation like Milwaukee. Time is ticking. You only got you lucked out. You pulled Jokic, a generational player in the draft. Now the responsibility Milwaukee pulled Giannis out of the draft, generational talent. Now the biggest part of your journey as an organization and a franchise is what now that you've lucked out, what can you do to extract as much from this talent as you possibly can? Because it's very likely you're never going to see this again. I mean, last time it happened to Milwaukee was off a coin flip between, Phoenix and Milwaukee. They got the coin flip and they selected Lou Alcindor,
Yep.
aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the last time in Denver this happened, it was in the ABA.
I was
So,
going to say, it wasn't even when they got Melo. That didn't, they never made a
right.
finals or anything there either.
No, so like you like these are once in a 50-year pick. So you got to get these right. And if you're not squeezing out as much as you can in this limited frame that you have them, yeah, man, you're gonna have to start kicking tables and punching people's clocks out, because it's just time to go. We got to make this work. Time is short.
So do you agree with both those firings heading into the playoffs, the timing of it in general? You okay with both of those?
Well, Mike Malone, I probably would have held off on, to be honest with you. I would at least waited him to finish the season out.
Yep, me
Um,
too.
I just think that when you fire a guy, and Taylor Jenkins too, when you fire a guy in the middle of the season, right before the playoffs,
Yeah.
I just think it creates a level of dysfunction with the team that probably is going to end up with guys' minds being in other places other than just the game. And it's going to cause you to suffer as a product. So I'd probably wait till after the playoffs and then let guys go.
Yeah. See, I was with you, and again, reports from Kroenke and in Denver, were saying that they didn't want to have a chance of them making a run. They wanted to
Right,
fire him for months. They were too hot to do it at the time. Jokic was averaging 40-point triple doubles. But towards
right.
the end of that, they started to lose a few, and after they lost 1 or 2 games in a row, they jumped right on that opportunity to let go of Malone. I agree with you. I think it's a little weird, And to me, it's just weird that you would rather have a coach fire him. To come out and say that to me says that you don't want to go on a playoff run. So you were more so concerned with
Right.
firing your coach than having success in the playoffs. It just didn't make sense to me. Like, hey, we can't let him win a few series here, get us to the Western Conference Finals. We got to get this guy out of here. Nobody who wants to make it to the Western Conference Finals. So I don't know, a little weird of a situation there. We'll see how Dave Adelman does in that role. They've been good since he's taken over, as usually teams are after that little coaching switch. They usually tend to go on a little bit of
Right.
run. So we'll see if they can extend it. But I'm with you. I would have kept Malone at least for this playoff run here for Denver. And again, a lot of the people in Denver saying that it's more, you said, Mike Malone, old school guy. They more laughing, more smiling, and we'll see if it's results though in more winning. That's what it's all about. But they said those
Right.
guys feel a little bit happier out there, but happier isn't always the best. So we'll see.
No. And look, I feel bad for both organizations, because I think both organizations aren't exactly free agent destinations. They're not
Yeah,
they're not
no doubt.
they're not organizations where they can just get their pick of whoever is a free agent. They've basically got to recruit every single guy, and you're only going to get the guys that want to play with certain players. So they're not even going there for the lifestyle. They're not going there for the city. They're not going there for the culture. They're literally going there because this is a job, and I this is the best place for me to work. And that's a tough situation for most franchises when they're in that situation. And I don't know, maybe Denver,
Purgatory.
really, and that's how some people are going to see it. They're going to see it as purgatory, and unfortunately, that's the issue at hand.
And again, when we're talking in terms of Denver, to your point again, as you just said, there are now rumblings about Jokic leaving the Denver Nuggets, which was never the case. You talk about people getting there, and now there's even talk of him getting out of there. And you talk about if
Right.
they lost him, they're purgatory. They go down a step. They're now, maybe
Oh
thinking about the
yeah,
lottery. So
for
we'll see.
sure.
So we'll see what goes on going forward, and how Jokic is in future with Denver and without Mike Malone, et cetera. But a lot of it's going to ride on how they play this playoff season. So we'll see as we get into that matchup. So let's dive into it now with the Nuggets and the Clippers. We're going to start in the Western Conference. It'll be the Thunder as the number 1 seed. And as we mentioned, they're going to get kind of the second winner of that play-in, if you will. You're the Grizzlies most likely, or the Warriors, in my opinion, as the 7 and the 8. So just for the sake of argument, we'll say the Grizzlies get the 8 and the Warriors get the 7, just as it finished in the standings. Obviously, that's subject to change. So Thunder there in round number 1, one of the best seasons, Matthew, that any team has ever had statistically. I think they've taken over now as the best season on paper in the history
Mm-hmm.
of the NBA from a metrics standpoint. Shea
Yep.
Gilgeous-Alexander with 32 points per game, most likely going to be the MVP, set the single season record for Thunder scoring, and that's a record that was held by an MVP and Kevin Durant during his time there. So that just shows you how big of a season that SGA had there for Oklahoma City. Any contest there that they get John Morant and the Grizzlies, they're a tough 8 seed to get in the first round of the playoffs. You think Thunder struggle at all? I've got the Thunder winning that series, I think 4-1.
Honestly, it all depends on Chet Holmgren. They
Yeah.
rely a lot on Chet more than like people. I see people making jokes about Chet, but honestly, if Chet doesn't play well defensively, they're a very easy out. And I don't think people really don't pay attention to what Chet does for that team. I think people concentrate on just other numbers, and they don't. He's part of the reason why those metrics are so high. And I'll tell you what, this is arguably one of the most important series I've seen of any 60 plus win team I've ever seen,
Yeah, I agree.
because even though they've won 68 games, even though they probably have the MVP, even though they've set all these metric numbers, this is the first time I'm even baffled I can say it. This is the first time I've doubted the team that has 68 wins.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I see the numbers. I see what you've done. Yeah, it looks nice, but I don't know if you're real yet. I just don't know if you're real. I don't know if you have the real weapons it takes to win in the playoffs. Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I was huge on him coming out of the draft.
Yeah.
He was my number one point guard, and that was over Trae Young. That was over a lot of guys. But I can tell you this right now. I don't know if he's that guy that's got that Kobe in him, that's got those other pieces in him that he can take a team to that next level. He definitely has the James Harden ability where he can put up crazy numbers, probably get a couple wins. But that's the difference between Harden and Kobe, isn't it? It's the fact that those guys were able to play, and Kobe took his teams to the finals and to deeper runs in the playoffs. Why James Harden had the numbers, he just fell off. He couldn't take that team to the next level. So I don't know. I see the numbers. I respect everything that they've done. I respect the season. I just don't know if it's real.
And it's funny you say that because a lot of people around the league feel the exact same way. And when you see those teams coming down the stretch and you hear those reports, people asking GMs and other executives from the same conference or potential playoff teams, and they all had the same sentiment, or at least most of them did, which was, we're not that scared of Oklahoma City. Like, we'd rather, maybe get them than some of those other teams. And this was back, with the Nuggets and the Lakers were playing well. They just didn't strike the fear around the league as you maybe would expect of a team that, as you mentioned, has broken all those records, that has won that many games, that has the MVP. They just don't have that fear factor to other teams around the league, and they don't have that mental, warfare victory over them heading into the playoffs, which we'll see how it plays out. I'm kind of more on the end that I'm a believer in OKC. I'm more on that side of it. I think as we head into the playoffs, I think the disrespect has gotten a little bit too much out of hand, but I can't argue with the fact that all those questions are very legitimate because they haven't done anything to show us that part yet, as you said. So we're going to have to wait and find out. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, we talked about it, over 32 points per game, potential, most likely going to be the MVP of the league this year, but he does a lot of his work at the free throw line, and a lot
That's
is
fact.
a lot of
Yeah.
work at the free throw line. So you get in the playoffs and they let you play a little bit more. He can't get to the line like he's used to getting each and every night. That's going to be an issue. And again, I'm in on the Thunder this year. We'll talk about our conference finals picks here in a little bit, but I'm in on SGA and the Thunder. I'm a huge Jalen Williams fan. He was my big pick, steal of the draft coming out of Santa Clara a few years ago. I was a big fan of his, and he's been playing well, but he's another guy that's going to have to step up. If he doesn't play well for them, along with some of those other guys that you mentioned, Chet, and SGA has to be MVP SGA for them to go on a run. They could be in trouble. So we'll see what happens, because the Grizzlies and Warriors aren't your typical 7-8, in my opinion, here in the West coming up this year. So it could be a tough one. I'm all in on the Thunder, though. I'm rolling with OKC here, especially in round number 1. But I'm interested to see how SGA does in the playoffs when they need him to be that big level type of player. I think he can do it. But again, if he's not getting those whistles, is he going to be able to get, he's a big mid-range guy. He's going to be able to knock down those big threes when he needs to, which he has done in the past. But again, the foul part is what worries me a little bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's always been the Achilles heel of some elite scorers, when they cannot get to the line and they have to earn every single bucket. Because physical play happens way more in the playoffs than it does the regular seasons.
No doubt.
So yeah, that's going to be the biggest adjustment. And again, as much as I like Jalen Williams' talent, he's another guy. He's got to show me that he's taking them steps at the playoff level for sure.
I agree 100%. I think he's going to be maybe you mentioned Chet. I think him and Chet, big parts of that. I think he could be the X factor. Again, two-way player offensively and defensively. We'll see who he's matched up on, for Jalen Williams. And again, he's going to have to bring the offense as well with him. If he has a good offensive playoffs, they're going to be the team that we may think they are here going forward, but that's to be determined. So now let's jump to the bigger matchup here that I wanted to get into, the Nuggets and the Clippers. So after all that settling yesterday, the Clippers, with that win in overtime, they get the 5 spot, and now they get a Denver Nuggets team that's won a few in a row, a new head coach, a new feel over there with Jokic, a team that's won a championship a few years ago. But the Clippers have been maybe the hottest team in the league down the stretch, both on paper, both in the wins and loss column, and with maybe a little bit of the metrics behind it as well. James Harden looks unbelievable. I mean, we were talking before the show. I couldn't, again, we thought he had a decent year with the Sixers. They lose that tough one, game 6 and 7 to Boston. And everybody in Philly wanted him gone, including Daryl Morey, who made that promise to him that he was going to bring him back. He did not keep that promise. And nobody in Philly even blinked an eye. They were happy that he didn't keep that promise and that they got rid of Harden. And look what he's doing now, a potential all NBA player this year, alongside what seems now to be a healthy Kawhi Leonard down the stretch. And he talked to the media yesterday saying he's just so thankful that he had an organization that let him take all the time he needs, that let him use outside help, that let him rest up to get ready for the playoffs. And now he's looking to reward him for doing just that. Clippers have been strong, Matthew. Clippers and the Nuggets is going to be a dynamite series one here in the 4-5 matchup. Winner will get the Thunder. Who do you think? Who are you going with in the Nuggets Clippers and why?
Going Nuggets. Sorry. I don't believe in James Harden. I just don't. I think he's going to have the numbers. I don't think he's going to have the results. Kawhi Leonard, as much as I like to see him go, I got to be frank. I think it's about time to maybe start looking at the future. As again, respect to what Kawhi Leonard has done, but if we're being honest and being brutally honest, 20 years ago, Kawhi Leonard would have been retired by now. I mean, this has been a situation, unfortunately, that has robbed him of some significant time on the court. And it's in a situation with Kawhi Leonard where you're lucky if he suits up 20 games. So like that's where we're at. And like I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm willing to bet you he's probably going to be injured. That's what I'm willing to bet.
Thing, because the last few playoffs, right? He's been hurt or gotten hurt during the playoffs. So if you look in Vegas, the series right now is a split pick 'em almost. The Denver is a slight favorite in the overall series. And again, if you were thinking or someone that was thinking about betting the Clippers, it has to cross your mind, man, what if Kawhi, happens to tweak something in the series or has to miss a game or two of the series, and you're way behind the 8 ball there, and you're in a tough matchup. For me, I love the way the Clippers have been playing down the stretch. I agree with you. I was in the same boat as Harden. I watched that game yesterday and what he did, and we've seen him do that again in the past and then really, not get there the next few games. He's going to have to put the consistency together in a 7-game series, which is going to be the question for him. But I'm going to lean with the Clippers. I'm going to take the Clippers in 7, and a lot of it has to do with Kawhi Leonard. If he can stay healthy, which is why I'm riding on him, so I'm not going to give the old, well, if he stays healthy, they'll win. I'm going to say he's going to stay healthy. I'm going to say he's going to win. You can't have it one way or the other. So I'm going to go with the Clippers. I say he stays healthy. I think the Clippers win in 7 here, and we'll wind up with the Thunder in round 2. And Matthew's going with the Nuggets. How many games? 6, 7?
6.
6. There you go. Nuggets in 6 there. Dave Adelman, Jokic, of course. Jokic could still be. And let me ask you quick before we move on to the next series. Jokic, in your opinion, the best player in the world still?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes it tough, especially in the playoffs. That's going to help him out. So we're going to split there. Let's head now down to another one in the Lakers and the Timberwolves. The Lakers, after the big trade with Luka Doncic, I know we all aired our frustrations out the next day. I know I personally never wanted to see Luka in the purple and gold out in LA, but the Lakers, they nabbed the 3 seed, small favorites in game 1 here against the Minnesota Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards, who have had some stellar playoff moments in his career here the last few years. Lakers, Timberwolves, another one that's relatively close there, but the Lakers a favorite in this series. And Matthew, to me, when you've got Luka and LeBron on the same team, anything's possible. I know back when they didn't have much, they don't have any bigs. They still don't. That's the case now as it was, months ago when I didn't think the Lakers had a chance down in the postseason. I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit, and I think they've got a puncher's chance here. When you got Luka and LeBron, anything can happen, especially in the playoffs. And you got a team now in the Timberwolves that Luka knows a thing or two about torching here in the playoffs. He's met up with them a few times. He's absolutely destroyed Minnesota. So I think he's going to do it again. Give me the Lakers over the Timberwolves. We love Ann Edwards here on DETV. We always do. But give me Luka, LeBron, and the Lakers over the Timberwolves. I'm going to say in 6.
Yeah, same thing here. I think the Lakers are on a roll right now. So I don't think this is time for them. I don't have them going to the conference finals, but I think this is a game that they can win easily.
Now, this next one, Matthew, is an interesting one and going to be another really fun series. Hypothetically speaking, the Warriors beat the Grizzlies tomorrow. They will nab that 7 spot, and that gives them a first-round matchup with Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets, who, Matthew, last year, not even, an afterthought. It was just, year 1 or whatever. They made some necessary strides. People thought they were a team on the rise, potentially look out for. But here they are as the number 2 spot just 1 year later. What a season for Udoka, Van Vliet, the Rockets, our guy Alperen Sengun. What a season for him. And now they get the veteran championship pedigree Golden State Warriors here in the first round, 2 versus 7. I think this is going to be a very close series, and I will go with the Warriors. I won here in the last few years to ride the Steph Curry train. Big fan of Steph and what the Warriors have done over the years, so I'm a fan there. I tend to pick them in some of these close matchups. I will do that here as a 7 seed over a 2. I'm not sure how comfortable I am about it because I will tell you, I am not as comfortable as a lot of these other experts that have picked the Warriors here in this series in 5 or 6 games. I think this is going to go potentially 7. But Ime Udoka has been a fantastic coach. What he's done this year with the Rockets, Matthew, has been unbelievable. They are gritty. They can grind out victories. They're very well coached, and they're going to have home court in the series. So give me the Warriors in a narrow 7-game win. But man, the Rockets are going to be tough for the former champs.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give everybody right now, the name that is going to be a problem is Jalen Green. If Jimmy Butler cannot stay in front of Jalen Green, it
He's
is
banged up.
going to be a problem because Jalen Green is exceptional in the open court. He's not Anthony Edwards in terms of being able to create consistently and get to the rack, but he's Anthony Edwards athletically. He's phenomenal. Um, he could really take his game to the next level here. He's already done better every metric you can look at, from PER to win shares. He's done everything better this year under Udoka. He's really squeezed that talent and got that guy to really start playing the way that we all thought he was when he came out of the G League Ignite group, because he never went to college. So Green has been really a revelation this year. Lots more maturity. I don't know if it's because of off the court with his newborn, but definitely more locked in, definitely more focused.
Here you go with in the series, leading the Rockets.
I'm
It's a
gonna
tough
go
one.
Rockets. I'm gonna go Rockets. I'm gonna
We
go
got some
Rockets.
good
But
series here. So we're splitting
yeah,
out the Clippers and the Nuggets and the Warriors and the Rock. Those are two fantastic series in the
yeah.
Western Conference. I could go 7 games and definitely go either way. So we're going to get now deeper into the West. But first, let's go to the East and talk about these first round matchups. Not as intriguing as we got in the West, but could get some good games here. It starts at the top with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They get that #1 spot. Of course, they'll get the winner of some of this play-in action here as we get into that tomorrow and on Wednesday. But do you think any play-in team has a chance to beat Cleveland? Cleveland, #1 seed. They had a better record than Boston. Again, the metrics, another metrics darling over there in Cleveland with Mitchell and Garland and Allen and Mobley. Your guy, Evan Mobley, having a phenomenal season this year, is really taking
Mm-hmm.
that next step, both offensively and defensively. #1 seed in the East, up there all year in terms of NBA standings, one of the best teams all year long. Any doubt for them in round one are going to be a cruise for Cleveland?
I got them as a cruise,
Yeah.
but I will say this: they are definitely in that same group as OKC, where they have got to really show people that they are as good as people have them. The numbers and everything else. They have the talent. I mean, they have Mobley, they have Darius Garland, they have Mitchell. They have everything you want right now in an emerging, upcoming young team. The only thing they don't have is consistency at this moment.
And as we talk here, congratulations, Paige Becker's just selected #1 in the WNBA draft. And I know we waited this long to say it, but
Mm-hmm.
congratulations to UConn, and we'll have a little bit more congratulations towards the end of the show here. No Jason today, but wanted to get his opinion
No,
on a
I ain't
little bit of that.
congratulating UConn,
The
bro.
Florida
No.
Gators national championships a little bit later. We'll talk about that. But Cleveland, what a year for them. Again, I got them cruising in round one. I don't think it matters whether that be the Magic, the Hawks, you name it. I think they could be on their way to a sweep, but at the very least, a 5-game series win for the top
Mm-hmm.
seed in the East. That takes us to a Pacers Bucks series in the 4-5 matchup there. Winner gets Cleveland. One of the most, I would say, probably the least intriguing series, maybe of the first round, in my opinion. Not in terms of competitiveness, but just in terms of entertainment. Pacers get the 4 seed, Bucks the 5. No Damian Lillard, obviously, with the blood clot. Giannis going to have to lead the way there for Milwaukee. And if you've seen some of the clips, Giannis been feeling himself a little bit down the stretch there for Milwaukee. Pacers and the Bucks. Who you going here in this 4-5 matchup?
Bucks.
Bucks. I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Bucks too.
Yeah.
I don't. Are you going with your guy? Going with your guy Doc Rivers?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? I'm going to go with it too, just because I think Giannis is by far and away the best player in the series. Indiana on paper might have the better team, but give me Giannis in a playoff series. If he can stay healthy, again, you're looking at that Kawhi stuff. He's been hurt in the playoffs the last few years as well. Give me the Greek Freak and a healthy Bucks team in 7. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think 6.
6.
Yeah.
Now let's jump to the 3-6, and this is a very good one as well, Matthew. Here, the New York Knicks grabbing the 3 seed, but it's been not I'm going to say weird to me, but over the last few months, they have been a team that hasn't got a lot of hype. A lot of people counting out the Knicks, the 3 seed in the East, but the record has them up in the standings overall. But if you look at Vegas, they are not one of the first 4 or 5 teams picked to win the championship in terms of odds, over there out west. So what do you think about the Knicks and the Pistons? The Pistons have been the biggest turnaround this year. What a season. JB Biggerstaff, a potential coach of the year. Cade Cunningham, all NBA this year. What a season. Great to see him recovering from those injuries and look this good. But he gets Jalen Brunson in a Knicks team. And you hear some people talking when you watch the Pistons this year, it kind of resembles that Knicks team from last year. Can grit out those wins, can play you tough, physical. When you talk to them, a lot of those players, they like to talk about how they resemble the bad boys a little bit back of the old Pistons, and they like to play that way a little bit. I don't know how much I agree with that here in 2025, but Knicks and the Pistons, this is another very close series here in the East.
Yeah, I'm going. First of all, let me give major love to my boy JB.
Yeah.
I know some people in his family, great people. Glad to see him, get another chance in the league. He was originally with Memphis, but he got moved from there. So I'm really big on JB. I think JB is a great coach. I think if I'm looking at this matchup, and I'm just being honest, I don't believe in the Knicks the way that a lot of other people do. I actually have way more faith in Detroit, mainly because I don't believe in Cat. It's not even Brunson. I just don't believe in Karl Anthony Towns.
It's the Gobert factor in Minnesota.
Man, let me tell you something. Karl Anthony Towns is soft, man. I just look. It is what it is. I just don't believe that guy. If they do get past them, I can tell you this right now. I don't suspect them in the conference finals at all. I just don't think that he's got that kind of engine. I don't think he's that guy. I just don't.
Knicks and the Pistons. You're rolling with the Pistons?
Of course.
How many games?
7. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be some wins. Yeah, I think it's going to be some wins. I don't think anybody's going to have a huge lead on anybody, but I do think that the Knicks do have enough talent to squeak out some wins. But I do think at the end of the day, I think Detroit is an emerging force. And I think, and it's not just Isaiah Stewart, but they also have Asura Thompson. I mean, they've got Ron Highland, the young guy that's there that's a really high flyer. They've got some great talent, and it's just a tough out for the Knicks. I mean, this is really a fight they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, so it reminds me a little bit of that Knicks team last year, right? Or a team that maybe next year could take that big step, going forward. I mean, Cade Cunningham has been one of the best players in the league this year. And it's going to be the matchup of these lefties, right? Brunson versus Cade Cunningham, and that is just going to be so fun to watch. I'm going to go with the Nova Knicks in 7, with Brunson kind of being the deciding factor in the playoffs. We've seen him do it there in big moments before. He's nailed big shots, won big games for them down the stretch. And I think Cade Cunningham could do the same, but to your point on a lot of other things earlier, we just haven't seen it yet. So is he capable of it? Yes, I think very much capable of it. Will he do it? I think maybe he could, but I've seen Brunson do it before. Give me the Knicks in 7.
I'm mad about that. I ain't mad.
So jumping down to the Celtics, they'll get either, most likely, we're just going to say for the sake of argument again, the Hawks out of the 8 seed, sweep 4-0 Boston.
Yep.
And now, again, it's funny, we talked about all the other series, but we got to Boston and we just advanced them, moved on, 4-0 sweep. To you, is Boston by far the best team in the field? If I said, would you take the Celtics or the field, who would you take?
Celtics.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough question. When I asked it, I couldn't even think of my own answer. I'm going to take the field, but I do think they're the best team in the field. I'm giving somebody else a shot to take them down, but they have, once again, been the team of the year. We're going to get Jason's opinion maybe later on as we go forward as the playoffs progress. But so you're rolling with the Celtics to win the whole thing. We'll get your picks here going forward now in a minute, but you're rolling with Boston.
Yep. I am.
Now go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I'm rolling with Boston. I think Boston will come out of the East.
Yeah.
They're the guys that I have pegged for the East.
Well, let's stick then with the East. We have the Cleveland versus Milwaukee. Both of us there in round 2, and then we have you have the Pistons and the Celtics. I have the Knicks and the Celtics. I think it's safe to
Yep.
say we both have the Celtics advancing out of that
Yep.
part of the bracket. And now Cavaliers Bucks. Where do you see that going?
I'm gonna go Cavaliers.
Me too. I'm gonna go Cavaliers as well. So that
Yep.
gives us Cavaliers Boston, a 1-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're rolling with the
Boston gets it.
Celtics.
I'm
How many
going with the
games do you
Celtics.
think it takes them to get it done?
6.
You know what? I like what's coming out of your mouth right now. I think I agree with you a little bit as well. I'm going to go Boston in 6. That's the same way I feel. So now let's jump. We've got Boston in the East to the NBA Finals, and let's jump to the West. We both got the Thunder advancing rather easily in round 1, and you've got Thunder Nuggets. I've got Thunder Clippers, and to our point earlier, I think either team could give the Thunder a series here in round 2. Who you going with?
I think it's disastrous if the Thunder have to play the Nuggets. I think it's disastrous for them.
You think it's a better matchup for the Nuggets than it would be the Clippers? You're saying the Thunder would have a better shot against the Clippers if they were to win that series?
Oh, for sure. Because I don't think there's anything that they can do with Jokic. I mean, with Minnesota beat the Nuggets last year, they had a twin tower attack.
That's right.
They don't have that type of ability to defend. I think you're asking Chet to do an awful lot with Jokic. I don't. Chet's a better help defender. He comes from the weak side and gets blocks and gets out of position, defensive alterations. I don't think in a situation where you have him going out in that perimeter having to guard Jokic, I don't think that's a good recipe. I really don't. I don't think they have the personnel right there at that kind of size to wear down Jokic and to really be physical with him. I don't think they have that guy. So that would be the only problem that I think OKC would have. If they run into the Nuggets, I have the Nuggets beating them. If they run into the Clippers, I have OKC. Yeah.
I like what you're saying. For me, and when hearing you say that now made me rethink about the first round and think about the Clippers. And I think Zubac is not necessarily the best, defender in the world. And now he's kind of one of the only big time bigs that the Clippers have that could even contend with Jokic and the Nuggets. That's a bad matchup already in terms of them, Jokic versus the Clippers. I think Jokic may even have a bigger field day against the Clippers than he even would against the Thunder. So it's making me rethink series 1 a little bit. I'm going to stick with the Clippers in that one, but that is going to be a tough matchup there in round 1. You got to turn Jokic into a scorer, right? You cannot let him control the game, the pace of the game. Let him become a distributor and find open guys for looks, get other teammates involved, get those guys hot. That's how the Nuggets win championships. So Clippers, Thunder, whoever it is, you got to turn them into a scorer. Let them give you 40, but you limit those assists, you limit those efficiency. You maybe try to tire them out, which is not easy to do. We'll see. But I'm going to go with the Thunder either way out of these two teams, but I'm with you. I think it's going to be a tough second round matchup for OKC, especially lacking, the pedigree that everybody around the league is waiting to see the Thunder show everyone here in the postseason. Lakers, Timberwolves, we both have the Lakers. You want the Rockets, I have the Warriors. So you have Lakers, Rockets, I have Lakers, Warriors. Where are you going, the bottom of the West?
Going Lakers.
Man, it kills me to say it. And it would hurt me to say it too. Going, Steph, Jimmy, and the Warriors, a team that I've picked repeatedly over the years. I'm going with the Lakers too in this one. The LeBron Luka factor again. They've seemed to have figured things out. And again, the key could be Austin Reeves and how well he has really been playing, these last few weeks as a scorer and as a passer. Defensively, he's been kind of that third guy, as emerged as a big 3 member, if you will, if you want to go as far as to say that. So I think he could be the X factor. I think we know what Luka and LeBron can do. They're going to have to get some big time post play from whoever it may be down there with the Lakers. We'll see, because we talked about the bigs in the West, and they got some good ones in Jokic and Chet and some of those other guys, and the Timberwolves, if you want to throw Gobert in that mix. But it's going to be a tough one. I'm going to take the Lakers over the Warriors, but whether that be the Rockets or the Warriors, it's going to be a tough series. I think we're going to get a lot of good series here in the playoffs here in 2025. Give me the Lakers as well. And then I have the Thunder and the Lakers. You have the Nuggets and the Lakers. Where are you going?
I go Nuggets if they play the Lakers.
Nuggets. There you go. And again, styles make fights is what they say. So a lot of these matchups are dependent on who we're seeing. That's where you hear us talking about it. So I'm with you. You got the Nuggets heading back, if it shapes up the way that you projected, back to the NBA Finals here after the firing of Mike Malone. That's what they're looking for, and they think they can get it done with Dave Adelman. So we'll see if they can. And when you got Jokic, anything is possible. So I don't hate that at all. I'm going to go with the Thunder over the Lakers here, subject to change. Once I see Luka maybe start to dominate in the playoffs a little bit, I could switch that vote, but it would pay me to send the Lakers to the conference finals no matter what. But we have to remain unbiased here on the show.
That's
So
right.
again, I will lean Thunder in this matchup, but subject to change. I think the Thunder and the Lakers could be a very good series. And again, a series I think the Lakers could potentially win. I'm going to take the Thunder in 7 games there. So I've got the Thunder and the Celtics, and you've got the Nuggets and the Celtics. And are we both picking Boston?
Yeah.
Man, I think so. God, this has been an awful series. Rooting for teams that we don't want to root for. I took a
That's a
lot of
fact.
slack last year, and I went out on a limb in the way that Luka and Kyrie, and we had them moving, and
Oh
had
yeah. I
them in the
forgot that
Western
was your
Conference
break.
Finals, and then I
Yeah.
had them in the finals, and I had a wedding a few weeks after the show, and it was in Boston with a bunch of Boston natives, and they had seen the show. And as soon as I landed and met and had got a chance to get there and meet even the new people I'd never met before from Boston, they let me have it as soon as I touched down for the wedding. And they said, "Do you really believe that the Mavericks can win this series?" I said, "Yes, I do." And you've got Kyrie and Luka, etc. And I was in for a rude awakening. It was a bloodbath. I'm hearing about it still to this day from those guys in
Yeah.
Boston. So I let the hatred get in the way of that, my dislike for, those teams in the past. So I can't, not doing that anymore, trying to stay unbiased here. And I'm going to take the Celtics over the Thunder. I think the Thunder are a capable champion as well. But as you said, we haven't seen it in the playoffs. They're young. They have to prove it. And again, it's hard to be one of those teams that proves it in their first year and wins a championship. So we'll see. Give me Boston in 6 or 7 game. I'm going to go 7.
Yep. Pretty much. I'm with
Awesome.
you.
And I can assume and our third member of the program, or 1/3 of 4 would be Jason McCall. I'm sure he would also have Boston in this scenario. And he might even have the Boston Lakers. I think if we know him over the last couple of years, I think he might have I think he had a Boston Lakers final last year. So we'll
He
see if
did.
he does that again this year. Now we could get Dennis's pick for his finals here in a moment. We'll have Dennis put that on the screen, or he can just chat with you too. We've got Dennis hooked up audio wise as well here for the show tonight, so he can give you his finals preview. And then if he has it, we'll round out the show with our question of the week. But Dennis, who do you got in your NBA finals here this year? Matching Matthews NBA finals. So there you
There you
go.
go.
There you go. Sticking with it, Dennis, with Matthew there. I've got Thunder, Boston. I went with 1 in the West, 2 in the East. Matthew and Dennis going with 4 in the West in the Nuggets, and the number 2 in the East in the Boston Celtics. So, Dennis, before we get out of here on a Monday, a very good show here previewing our NBA playoffs, and we'll end it with this question. And I do want to get Matthew's opinion on the Sixers here as we close out. But what is our question of the week as we get into the NBA playoffs here in 2025? Now, there you go. Here we go. It leads us right into the Sixers. That's how good Dennis knows the flow of the show here.
There you
So,
go.
Matthew, let's talk a little bit about it. The
Yeah.
Sixers, they tank one of the very finest tank jobs we've seen in recent memory since the
Yep.
process. They go 5-31 over the last 36 games of the year. Again, if they were out of the top 6, they would lose that draft pick to OKC. They now have the 5th best odds in the lottery. So if they were to go as planned, they would keep that pick at pick number 5. But there's a small chance that they get the number 1 pick. And this is a draft
Hmm.
class, obviously, well, like each and every
Yep.
season, and a draft class that I think I seem to like as well as we get closer to draft time, watching these guys perform in the tournament. A lot of young guys there sit at the top of the board. Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse both said they are going to be back next year, so no changes administration wise there for Philadelphia.
Unfortunately.
But potentially the 5th pick. Who do you like there? Maybe in that range, anywhere from 2 to 5, potentially to where they could be, maybe 2 to 7. And do you trust them making this draft pick? It's a team that's drafted, and a guy in Daryl Morey that drafted Maxey has drafted Jared McCain. They've gotten some good guys there in the first round, albeit later in the lottery or out of the lottery, later in the draft in the first round. But how do you feel about the Sixers heading in with now a chance in potentially the top 5?
Well, if they get top 5 pick, obviously, I think I'd want them to take Ace Bailey from Rutgers. I think he has the type of fit that really works with that offense that they want to have. I mean, Maxey's pretty much freestyling out there. He's wheeling and dealing. He's scoring in transition. He's going to the basket. In Bailey, you have a potential Paul George type guy that can hit that catch and shoot, that will go to the lane, dunk in traffic. Still very young, still had loads of potential. I like him. If they can get into that top 3 discussion, I like him
That'd be
there.
nice.
If they fall outside of the top 3, then you're probably dealing with I think his name is Kasparis Jakunis from Illinois.
Just declared today. Yep.
Yep, he's a multi-versatile player. Think of like a small forward, but he's plays more of a 2 guard position. But in the league, I think he could. Yeah, I think he could definitely go into the 3. He can dribble the ball. He's very smart. Makes great passes. Understands the game at a high level. I really like him. I think he's a guy that could fit there. I wouldn't want a Trey Johnson or a VJ Edgecombe. I think those guys.
Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears. How do you feel about any of those guys?
Derek Queen, I would want. Malawak, I would want. I would want Derek Queen over Malawak though.
Gotcha.
I'm not a big Malawak guy. I think he's gonna be solid. I just don't think he's gonna be the guy that people are pegging him to be, which is this double defensive force. I just don't see that. I think he's going to be a nice player in the league. I just don't have him. Maybe a Gorgie Den type player where he can provide you a little bit of defensive pressure and get you, I don't know, like 8 and 8. I don't think he's a guy that's going to really be at that top center board in the future. Derek Queen, I love his feet, love his hands. He's got great soft hands, catches everything. Can dribble in traffic, makes tough shots.
Good handle.
Yeah, so there's so much I think Queen gives them. And knowing the way that we've seen how Daryl Morey has structured his teams in the past with the Houston Rockets, he loves multifunctional forwards. He used PJ Tucker in a wide range of offensive sets. And Derek Queen is better than PJ Tucker was. So I just think that he would fit that niche very much for them. And then probably the sleeper would be Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina, another small forward who I think has a lot of multifunctional ability, versatile, can guard, 2 to 4. I really like his ability. Right now he's sitting around 8 to 10, but I wouldn't be shocked if somebody takes him in that top 5 range. Mm-hmm. He does have that kind of ability. And look, we're still very far from the draft process, but I do think those are players. If I'm the GM of the Sixers, you already took Jarrett McCain. You got to win. I think Jarrett McCain, if he would have played all year, I think he would have been the best rookie in this class. You won. So you won that. You won with Maxey. I just wouldn't try to go out and get another guard. I would try to start looking at wings, looking at forwards.
Two-way wing, yeah.
Right. I think that's why Boston is where it's at right now, because it has potentially 2 wings that can fit a multitude of positions. So I think if I'm the Sixers, those are the guys I'm looking for.
Is that why you're a little unsold on Trey Johnson? What's your issue with the freshman scorer from Texas?
No, love Trey Johnson. Just don't love him for the Sixers.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Same thing with VJ Edgecombe. I think VJ is an explosive, dynamic player in transition. Shooting leaves a little bit to be desired, but I just think he's a player. Yeah, I just think he's a player that fits better in a team that isn't looking for instant impact and can sit on him for a little bit and have him develop these things. I think the Sixers, and I'm not just saying this, I think the Sixers, if they can get the right guy, they have and everybody comes back healthy, I think they have a chance to really get to the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I'm with you. And to your point, I think, right, this guy, whoever it may be, could have a bigger impact than maybe some of those other rookies on their new teams. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there in that aspect there for the Sixers. So hopefully they can figure it out, going forward here, get some new blood in there and transform the season as we get in to next year. But again, the NBA draft a little over 2 months away, so things going to start to heat up there. Going to be a fun one here after, again, you don't want to say a down year. Last year it was just a not very public or talked about draft for outsiders, not the insiders like you and a lot of other guys who obviously all the drafts, remain the same there. But we'll see if we can get some more entertainment value, I guess you will. And I guess the public will like this year's draft, I guess, a little bit more. But to your point about VJ, I had a chance to do some of his games in high school. Athletic off the charts, fantastic. It kind of like And I was just saying this the other day. Who was I just saying he reminded me of? Kind of like a poor man's Jalen Green coming out
Hmm.
in a way that the shooting's not there, but just so athletic, can get to the basket, can really
Yeah.
throw it down. Athletic. I mean, he's long too. VJ's a long kid. He's got that wingspan, etc. So he's gonna be good defensively, I think, as well. That shooting will come, and if it does, he's gonna be, a fantastic player there. Also, Rob Wright announcing today he has transferred from Baylor, the Delaware product, now at BYU. So he's signed with
Yeah.
the Cougars. Shout out to Rob. We're hoping to maybe look to maybe get him on the show here over the summer. So we'll see if we can get him on to talk a little bit about his transition. What a tournament he had there for Baylor, though, and of course
Yep.
now it's a new world of college basketball. He is now at BYU, and Baylor was a good place to be with Coach Scott Drew. So maybe he was seeking
Yeah.
some other things there. So we're happy for him that he found a new home there in BYU and with the Cougars. Delaware announcing today Isaiah Pasha has left for Virginia Tech. So the freshman CAA of the year is gone for Virginia Tech. Rumor was he got an offer from Texas for over $1 million, and he passed that up to go to Virginia Tech. So I wonder what kind of checks they got over there in Blacksburg, Virginia, because it must have been looking pretty good to get him over there. John Camden, who was formerly a Virginia Tech, had played with his third school at Delaware this year, led the team in scoring. He is now going to California. So Cal for John Camden, Pasha to Virginia Tech. All 4 of the 5 starters are gone for the Blue Hens. It's going to be a tough year for hopefully Coach Inglesby can figure it out. He's one of the best, and we'll see what they can do next year. But that's the new landscape of college basketball. I just want to put it in perspective. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to change until they hire me, and then I'll put together a formula that make everybody win. I really don't think this fits. It's like this is never going to work out for mid-major teams, and they really are going to have to do a system, which I think they're going to have to do like soccer, and what they do overseas, and that is they're going to have to start putting these guys in multi-year contracts, and
Give money to
then
the old schools.
yes, and then when the new school wants to take the kid, they have to buy out the contract, which then that program gets that money to
Go
take
get
that
somebody else.
right. Because
Yeah, I
right now,
agree.
if you're Delaware and so you got this, you took a chance on this freshman. He came in, he was dynamic, he was electrifying. Virginia Tech says, "Hey, we want you." Well, if I'm Delaware, I'm you get nothing.
Nothing.
He just leaves, and
Oh.
you're stuck like crying with the covers over your head because you just gave a potential program changing guy to the bigger program that doesn't really need them. So you basically did the scouting work for them. So
Yeah,
you might
that's
as well
it.
get a finder's fee at this point.
You're
So
right. I couldn't agree more, man. It's such a tough world out there right now. But it is congratulations to both those guys, Pasha, John Camden, the rest of those other Delaware guys that have left, because
for
truth
sure.
of the matter is they're getting their bag now. They're
Yeah.
gonna be they're a little bit richer than they were yesterday. So congratulations to those guys. Delaware hopefully will figure it out going forward. But that's the new landscape of college basketball for sure.
Yeah. God bless them. It's hard for them.
Well, that'll close us out here on a Monday evening. Again, next week will be our NFL draft preview. We'll have a first round mock. We're a little bit quicker this year, separating it by the first 5 picks, and then we will go. We're going to be following up some special guests. Matthew and Jason will be back. Dennis will be there as well, and plus a few extra special guests live in studio on next Monday. So, Matthew, before we close it out here today, just want to say, get your opinion. Florida Gators, national champions, 3 national championships in basketball, 3 in football. Are they the biggest, I guess you could say, athletic college in the country? The best, top notch, number 1.
The best?
I think the best. Yeah.
You mean overall?
Overall, 3 and 3. Nobody else has that.
Oh yeah, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at
There
that.
we go. I loved it. And again, I will say, Matthew, you are not a when the other guys' teams win, you're there. You're always telling it like it is. No hate coming from you. I will say that Eagles win the Super Bowl. I know you weren't on the Gators either, but no hate from you throughout the process. And then we get you here, and again, humble as well tonight. So I appreciate that.
Hey man, I'm just happy that you were able to see a title again, man. So
Been a while. We'll take it. Gator boys, stay hot. Dennis, appreciate you as always. Matthew, we'll be back again next Monday talking the NFL draft. Jason hopefully be with us. So for everybody here at DETV, we will see you next week.
peace.